Okay, so welcome back for this afternoon session, and we are running slightly late, but it's still my pleasure to welcome you to this presentation on acquisition and own launch of niche products. And this presentation is by Detlef Bahrens, who is founder of Baypharma here in Germany. It's also my pleasure to introduce you. Detlef is business development, sales, and supply chain executive with a strategic and operational experience in pharmaceutical industries. He is an acknowledged expert in the field of global CRAMS, procurement and offshoring, as well as outsourcing, having led business development restructuring efforts. So over to you, Detlef.
Yes, thanks, Samir, for the introduction, and thanks as well for having the opportunity to talk here and share with you all a bit. I think our experience on the acquisition and the launch of our niche products. Here, I think, as we are based out of Germany, especially for the German market, it's clear. I think everyone can, let's say, as long as they have the money, can buy a large valuable product and launch it. But the challenge is, I think, with the smaller ones and as well, I think, what means niche product. It's clear for an organization like, in example, Sandoz or Teva or all the bigger ones. Niche means something different to what niche means for a company like Baypharma. So what we're looking for is, I think, more real niche products, probably with the sales up to €1 million in Germany or sales potential, because we are a small organization and not able to handle such larger projects. So that's what I said. So niche products are for us extremely small products. So we're still a 2-people company. And as that is, I think, up to around €1 million. I think that's what we're able to handle. And so if you look on that, I think you might think is okay. The obvious one is okay to go into generic tenders. But that's easy probably from a handling perspective. But the pricing, as we all know, in Germany is here far away from being attractive. And I think the real advantage for us is, okay, we have very, very limited overhead cost. And that gives us the ability to make even small products profitable for us. And that differentiates us a bit from other players which are out in the market. Yeah, the challenge always is, okay, how to find such attractive niche products, not being at that extremely low pricing level, and which are not requiring a huge sales force, because that's as well not possible with 2 people. Yeah, there are some examples which are not fitting. I think which we have seen is in UK you have sometimes a very, very from a pricing perspective very attractive liquid products, because you're allowed to price them entirely different compared to Germany. But if you just look on the German market, I think payers will simply look as, okay, same molecule as a tablet, same price. And I think if you then really start looking about small quantities and so on, and I think it's really not possible, I think, to compete here. Although the concept is fine, and as well, I think there is a good justification logic why a liquid product, an example for predator use or old people having issues with swallowing, might be a good idea, but it's working. As well, I think in the US, we all know, so okay, there are these the 505(b)(2) concept. There are sometimes very nice ideas. Often, I think, used the example of a ready-to-use injectable versus an available lyo product. But I think these would require a lot of marketing efforts, and price will be still at the low generic price levels. So still not something what would perfectly fit for a company like Baypharma. I think the key thing what is required is a very smart brain behind, and I think luckily one of the two people at Baypharma is such a brilliant guy. It was Nilesh Vagela, my business partner. So he's absolutely great, I think, in reading market data and to identify constantly opportunities which could be a fit in terms of still market attractiveness from a size and from a pricing perspective. And then I think if you have identified such an idea, and you unfortunately not, I think then you're still far away from having a product you can launch. So the first question is, okay, what I'm doing with that? Can I develop such a niche product myself? For sure. But I think as usual, there are most likely a lot of reasons why there are no generics available for such products, meaning, okay, API might not be available, there are difficulties in the formulation, there are challenges in the BE study, and that's something, okay, you need to carefully work out before you can make a decision. Okay, it's something I want to move on and check, I think, if I can move on with the development. Then, because we're talking about niche products or small markets, and then the big questions here, can I get a return on investment when spending money for full development? As my budget will be limited, then I need to think smart, and I need to think about, okay, are there different approaches for development? How can I structure my BE study to reduce the burden of investment, and as well, I think the risk of investment, because with being a small company, I think at the end of the day, you can't fail with the project. You have to be successful. The other idea is, okay, what am I limited to the market I'm active in? Or are there other markets where I can potentially out-license the product to, so that I can get a better return on investment? And I think the most important thing is if I decide to do a development by myself, do I have the right in-house expertise for such developments? Or I think at least from where can I get this experience? Because without that, that's a guarantee of failure. Then the question, how can I get the right price when acquiring niche products? First is, okay, you need to find a source of which has that product which I'm targeting. Because we talk about niche products, that can be quite challenging, and I think you need to have as well smarter ways and then an extraordinarily good network, I think, to identify sources for such products. And the question is always, okay, can I trust the source? There are a lot of people just claiming, I think, to have something what in the reality they don't have. So you need to be very careful in looking into the source, evaluating it, and then decide as, okay, I want to move on with that. Key question then is, okay, is the product already improved in my market? If not, I think that's the ideal world. But I think usually, I think for such products, you are not in the ideal world, and you need to look, okay, are the data sufficient for successful filing? Or is there a lot to do, I think I need to put on, I think, to make a product ready for filing on the German market? Some interesting opportunity might be, I think, for you, if your niche product is a larger one in some other markets, that could at least give you access to such a product. But I think there are certain challenges as well here. We are talking about, in our case, on the German market, and that means usually, I think, a larger market with higher prices. And that means, okay, if you start talking to someone, they believe it's okay. It's a large market, so they're expecting then a high price and not small and large volumes. But what we can potentially deliver is small volumes and still is a lower price. And that means, okay, we need to work against certain expectations of significant down payments for such products, because that's not, I think, something what can be justified for niche products. And we are, due to that, I think, very keen to make backloaded deals and not the front-loaded ones. But I think that's something, okay, a lot potential partners don't understand at the beginning, and you need to carefully talk to them, make them aware of the situation, convince them. And it's at the beginning of discussions a lot trust building, I think, to convince your partner to agree to such a deal. Then I think, okay, if in case I think you in-license a product with a full supply chain behind, you're perfectly set. But usually I think you don't have that, and then I think you need to ask yourself the question, how can I find a manufacturer for my niche products? First, the question is, okay, if there's no reliable supply chain behind, or going back to what we discussed earlier, if you want to develop your product yourself, you need to find a supplier which and that's as well, I think, has certain challenges, because no one is interested in small volumes. For small volumes, prices will be extremely high, and with sometimes, let's call it standard, usual tech transfer fees, you might kill your product immediately, because then you have certain acquisition costs or development costs, plus tech transfer fees coming up, and then I think it's getting completely unattractive, I think, to launch that product. As well, here there's a significant portion of trust building required, and I think ideally, I think you find a small local CMO, I think, who's very keen to work with small companies, and I think as they are local, they can much better understand the situations, the pricing situations, the market situations for such products, and potentially more open, I think, to deal with you in different models and setups. And here, I think we have spoken about that even yesterday. Okay, on partnership, that's something what you need to build up with your supplier, because the usual transaction deals they won't work. So how can I get the right market price for my niche products? You need to ideally find products which have an added value and which will help me to stay outside of generic pricing. Is that something I can get? That makes it even harder, I think, to find the right project. Then the question where you need to look in is, okay, are there already tenders out with low prices, or will I probably be the first one, the first generic, and then initiating the first tenders? And what does it mean for me, I think, as a company, when let's say initiating the tender, and what price discounts should I give, or I need to be given to payers? Then I need to think about, who are my potential competitors? Are these trained generic players, or large pharma companies where the potentially targeted product might be below their radar screen? So that's always something, okay, which is important for the pricing strategy. And then I think with answering these questions, you can somehow finalize your business case and then make a call, I think, what you really want. Important is as well, I think, what infrastructure do I need to market my niche products? It's very clear, for small niche products, a large sales force won't work. I think it's no way ever that you can justify it, except you probably end up after a couple of years with a significant large portfolio of niche products for certain indications, where it's then possible to justify a sales force of a few people, but usually not. And at our example, as I said, we are 2 people, so we don't have that. So what options are available? I think you can go via direct mailing. You can build up a network of key opinion leaders, helping you to reach out to a very small population of key prescribers, identify potential tenders with limited discounts, and I think to try to find a way of differentiated marketing and just move away from the usual standard approach everyone is doing. So it's always a requirement, I think, to be innovative and probably disrupting on the marketing front. So that's everything from my end, and this is a bit of a let's say a kind of thought process on how to make or how to look into such kind of opportunities. What are the challenges? And I'm more than happy to answer any questions which are coming in.
So first of all, thank you, Detlef, for very nicely summarizing this interesting topic. So I think what I really like, first point you mentioned is absolutely right, bang on, that niche might mean different to different people and different companies for sure. So, and I think it is very important to recognize that. And as of now, I don't see any questions in the chat box, and I still request people to send their questions if they have any. And in the meanwhile, I would ask this question that in my experience, or what I have noticed in my discussions with different industry colleagues is especially the mid-sized, because we are having this conversation in context to generics and biosimilars, especially the mid-sized or larger generics companies, they usually rarely work on niche size products. But then if there is an external opportunity, someone has developed a niche product which can help fill a gap in their, how should I put it, revenue plan for a particular year, then they are keen to license in those kind of niche products. Is this something you also observe?
Yeah, definitely. I think what we have seen is over the last probably 10 years, I think the minimum revenue hurdle, I think, went significantly down, I think, at all the generic players. So when probably 10 years ago, no one was looking on products, I think, below a sales potential of 5 million. And I think that's significantly not anymore the case. It's way below. Because, let's say, the opportunities, I think, which are available outside in the market are different. Plus, I think, and a bit what you were saying, if you are let's call it an opportunistic generic player offering everything, every indication, then a niche product will be more difficult. But if you are one of the more special or specific generic players active in 1 or 2 different therapeutic areas, then it's much more attractive to take a niche product on board, because it could fit, I think, into your portfolio of very special products.
Great. Yeah, I think absolutely. So that's very interesting to note as well. So maybe we still give 1 minute to people to ask. Yeah, we have a question from Stephanie Amanmal. When talking about niche products, do you observe any specific patterns? For example, preference of certain dosage forms or therapeutic areas?
No, I think what we're seeing is, okay, if you want to focus on niche products, and if you want to then restrict it to certain dosage forms or certain therapeutic fields, It will be even harder, I think, to find an opportunity. So our approach is a bit more opportunistic. I think it's better to identify the right product, which makes a lot of sense. And even if it's a different indication to what you already have, I think it's clear thing sometimes with overcapacities on the manufacturing side, it's sometimes easier to find someone, I think, willing to make smaller quantities of tablets than I think fighting with larger players on existing capacities for injectables. That's as well clear. But we have not seen any special focus, and we decided, okay, we are opportunistic in that sense to look for the right fitting product instead of it needs to fit into a certain therapeutic field or a specific dosage form.
Yeah. Yeah, then, but well said. And I think with that, I would like to thank you, Detlef, for a very interesting presentation on. So niche, a presentation on niche products has to be a niche presentation. So that was a niche presentation for sure. So
I think, it's always easy to talk about the big projects. That's fine. But I think challenges coming if you are different than the other ones. Huh?
Yeah. So I think it was very interesting, insightful. And I would say that what I learned and my takeaway from this presentation is that choose the niche products. First of all, define what is niche for you. And then, of course, then it is important to identify the right products. And that is what the most important topic is, to identify the right products. So thank you again, Detlef. And I wish you... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I said it was a pleasure, yes.
Yeah, so thank you again. And then we will move to the next session, which is the last session for this PPM Summit. And so if you disconnect Detlef, then I will be able to go back to backstage and then bring in the next set of speakers. Thank you, Detlef.